So I like climbing, right? And typically when you do something that you like a lot, you tend to get hurt. In today's video, I'm gonna talk about how I messed up all four of these fingers and how I climbed with messed up fingers and how I eventually got them to feel good. Now, when it came to me getting injured, all my injuries happened pretty similarly. I basically just grabbed a hole and then I started applying weight to it, and out of nowhere, my fingers just started hurting real bad. I'm not entirely sure if I remember I heard a pop or not. It just hurt to the point where I was unable to grip a water bottle with the injured finger. Now, when it comes to injury involving joints and stuff, here's how I like to categorize it. You're gonna have no pain, pain, no pain again. No pain represents the first range of motion. Right here at the 90-degree mark is where the pain exists, and right here goes past it where the pain no longer exists. So we're just going to translate that to fingers. When the finger was straight, there was no pain. When I apply pressure right here under load, there's slight pain. And then right here, when I curled it up all the way, there was no pain. What does that mean? Well, for me, it meant that I could still climb. I just had to climb using very specific hand angles. I should very quickly mention that this is me being me, doing me. You could listen or totally ignore it. Up to you, boo. Now, obviously, this meant that my climbing grade drastically dropped by at least 2 to 3 grades for like nigh on over a millennium, which was not exactly the most funnest, pleasant thing in the world. But yay, I could climb and I was pretty happy with that. So what did I do to actually, make the fingers feel better? Here we go. I said this at least 10,000 times, but goddamn, man, finger curls, man. A finger curl, you just find a nice ledge, you start in the open hand position, and then you roll it up. And then I like to actually roll it up into a faux crimp, hold it for half a second, I bring it right back down. When I'm bringing it down, I'm actively pulling downwards as well, just using my fingers though, Now, what did this do? Because my hand was, my finger was totally fucked up, I couldn't apply a tremendous amount of force to it, but that's okay because I could still move it through open range of motion through space. So this right here is about zero load of force. And then I would start to apply a very minute amount of force to it, going through a dynamic range of motion while using the other fingers as assistants to make it feel like I'm actually still working on it. And not only does the fact that constantly moving a joint keeps it nice and limber, it also forces blood into it, making it good. So I was finger curling pretty religiously, 3-5 sets of 20 reps, really high reps, high volume, low intensity, just pumping out my fingers. And in addition to that, I would, start to try to climb harder. But of course, the road to recovery is never easy because sometimes I would be climbing and I would say put too much force into the injured hand, and then out of nowhere, pew, pew, the injured range of motion that my finger was in would really just shoot up at me and scream, and I'll be forced to let go. But I had a very specific rule, and that rule was as long as my finger injury never got worse, I was heading in the correct direction. Meaning, even though periodically I would experience a horrible sharp pain in my finger, as long as the weeks went by and I didn't notice that pain getting any worse or my climbing declining, I consider that a metric of improvement. But truth be told, that should be the obvious bare minimum. And I was actually getting better week to week, month to month, until ultimately it just didn't exist or persist for me. However, there was a particular turning point that was very important in this recovery. And that barrier is just a mental block of fear. Because when you never injure yourself before, you just go 0 to 100 all day, every day, not a problem. But the minute you injure yourself once, all suddenly I should probably slow down. I'm slow off the start. So you have this fear that if you go hard again, you might re-injure yourself. Statistically speaking, if it happens once, it could happen twice. So when I was getting to the point where my finger was starting to feel really good, but I was still a little bit afraid to apply maximum force to it, I just basically told myself, hey, look at here, man. Amen, partner. Yes, sir. It don't matter how badly you mess up your stuff, you're still probably gonna climb, huh? Yes, sir. Then you should probably try with all your heart and soul. Yeah. In actuality, it went a little something more like this. Stop being a little bitch. Yeah, you right. But here's the important thing I learned about trying very hard when you've been previously injured, and you have to try really hard. The way I like to view it is, let's pretend this is like 10,000 pounds. If you want to lift 10,000 pounds, you can't just haphazardly go into it with like a limp body. You got to brace all your core, all your muscles, and you got to squeeze really hard, which gets your body ready for lifting and also ready for not messing your stuff up. As opposed to if you're to go into it really limp and just pull while sagging everything, you might hurt yourself. But if you go into it with a really rigid, strong body, you have a higher chance of pulling it off the ground as well as keeping your body nice and safe. Meaning, when it comes time to pull hard for the first time in a while, pull as hard as you can. That way everything is nice and ready. Like squeeze everything, keep all your muscles nice and taut, and just crank like you've never been injured. And that will be a lot safer than cranking while holding back, because holding back means you're semi-relaxed, and you don't ever want to be relaxed when you're doing a really hard move. You know what I mean, right? Of course, it's easier said than done, right? And now I'm in that point in my life where these 4 fingers are just super strong, and I could crank and I don't have to worry about them ever getting busted up. In fact, I'm so solid in these 4 fingers that I can't imagine them getting injured again. They're just so strong now. They're stronger than they've ever been. Let's talk about something. In terms of time to recovery, I know one of my fingers, I forget which one it was, took like maybe a year, and it was like a slow progress. But once I messed up my other finger, I thought it was really funny because I was like, oh, well, I know exactly what to do. And that one took maybe less time, like 5 months, I forget. And then the other 2 fingers, again, I'm not sure which fingers got messed up when, but they all took dramatically less time to heal because it's probably less severe. I remember one of my fingers was really severe. I don't know which one it is. And then the other 3 were semi-severe. So recovery time kind of makes sense. But point is, it happened so long ago that it doesn't really affect me at all. Although I will say something. I am not a fan of passive recovery, you know. If you have like a nice structure and you mess it up and then you just wait for it to come back into form and shape without doing any form of exercising whatsoever to rehabilitate it back to its proper strength, I think that's a bit dumb, really. So I think instead of waiting for it to fix itself, you just take these really tiny steps and try to piece it back together. Even if you have some mishaps, and even if it goes astray, and even if it falls apart, you just pick it back up, and then you and then now that's strong, you make it even more solid than before. That's my approach. Now, obviously, if you do get injured, you should probably take like a couple of days off and then slowly build up the rehabbing of it, slowly progressing over time. But I'm here for me because I'm very impatient. I messed up my finger. I rested a day. And the very next day after that rest day, I was on the rehab, cranking out my finger curls like a madman, feeling extremely weak. But you know, I was still climbing, still having a good time. Again, you do you, boo. And I'll even extend an olive branch if you're one of those that insists he has to rest at least 5 months. Well, the rest of your body's not messed up, so instead of climbing, you could like do some stretching stuff, you know? Or work on your general pulling strength, you know? Even with messed up fingers, you can definitely still grip a pull-up bar, you know? I think when people get one thorn inside their body, they just automatically assume everything is useless. And I think that's just a really, really dumb way to look at it. And so you should use what you have and try to get back what you don't have. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time, partner.